Do you want me to start talking?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So we have here Bruce Hoffman, who is the chair of the Finance Committee, and our discussion today is focused on with the calling or potential calling of deacon candidate Peggy M. Roberts. How does this, how financially, especially in the middle of the year, how will this work with our MVP? What changes do we need to be aware of? All of that. Basically, our hope for this is to answer any questions and settle any kind of concerns that people might have on the financial side of things. So I'll hand it over to Bruce, but feel free to just chime in with your questions.
Spit them out. Believe it or not, this actually isn't all that complicated. I know you don't believe that, but and what makes it workable from the Finance Committee's perspective is the fact that next month is our last primary mortgage payment for the main building. But so the July payment will be done with the primary mortgage. So that amounts to $4,800 a month or $57,600 a year. We'll be done with. So that makes what we're doing here, and we're not spending all of what we're saving on this position. But when you look at all the moving parts of Tricia moving over to a different job, and then this increased role for Peggy and the different responsibilities for Pastor Ginger, the bottom line is the payroll increase over what we presented in the MVP is $25,500 a year. That's it. Now there's another piece to it yet that we haven't got to, and that's Lisa Rabula's replacement in the parish administrator role, which won't be until early next year. But we will start looking for somebody to come in and work with her near the end of this year to transition. So we may have a little bit of expense at the very end of the year for a couple of months in Lisa's transition. But again, we have some work to do still on how we're going to structure that role and what that might cost. And it might cost less, it might cost the same. I don't think it's going to cost more because I don't think we want that. So that's a moving part still to be worked through. But this call for Peggy is the next piece of it. And basically, with all the moving parts, we're adding to the payroll $25,500 a year. And it's about 44% of what we are not going to have when the mortgage is done. So that's the way to think about it.
That's how you can pay.
So that's really all I have to say, unless there's questions or you guys want to elaborate on something.
Bruce, did you already figure that into the budget this year?
No.
You just, you
No.
had it in the budget?
What was in the budget? The mortgage going away was in the budget.
Right, yeah.
Right. And what we're saying is, we're not going to save all that we said we were going to save in the budget. Okay. Essentially, we're starting the process of spending it. So there's the year budget you look at, but then there's really the month-to-month spending. Okay. And the happy coincidence is we're going to start Peggy in this role in the same month when the mortgage is due.
That's right, yes.
So how is our monthly spending going right now?
Well, our spending is right about where we thought it was going to be. Now, we have not made donations to the Synod for the last 2 or 3 months because our offerings have not been quite what they should have been. We think there's some reasons for that. End of the quarter is coming up where there's typically some contributions coming in with IRA withdrawals and things like that. So we've had that discussion. But from a spending standpoint, we've been in pretty good control. Had some facility stuff you're aware of. The electric bill's been ridiculous, several months. But then some of the other offsets have been helpful. And again, we have not made a contribution to the Synod. So yeah, we're in a stretchy, but we sort of always are this time of year. So we are very hopeful that things are coming. So You agree, Jenny?
Yeah, I just ran the numbers yesterday.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's funny because it's such a snapshot in time. I mean, you can look at things 2 weeks ago and, oh, we're behind by 2%, and all of a sudden it changes drastically. But we've identified, what did we, about 34,000 that we're waiting to come in, that we know is coming in, that for whatever reason, various reasons, is delayed
Yes.
coming in. So we do know that this is coming in. And then we also got rid of one position, right? The music associate.
well, it's not really.
Not-
We're paying for that still.
Okay.
This is a net increase in payroll. In other
Okay.
words, we're counting what we were paying that position plus 25
okay,
to get to
gotcha.
the new
Gotcha.
compensation for Peggy. So that's the way it
Yeah.
works.
So is there any other salary adjustments of the existing staff due to changes in roles?
Well,
Not at this point.
not at this point, but isn't, and I'm hoping that I'm not overstepping any kind of protocol here, but won't Lisa's insurance payments, won't that change before she officially retires at
Yes.
some point?
But again, remember what I just said.
Yeah, the net.
We're going, the net, that what we save on that will go towards probably training her replacement for a couple months beside her. So our view of that is it's more or less a wash, yeah. So,
And are we looking at or I think you don't know yet, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Are we looking at a full-time like Lisa is, or do you know?
I thought so originally, but Lisa's perspective, and we heard this from her at our last finance meeting, is with Tricia moving into this new role of congregational life, she will be handling a lot of stuff that took a lot of Lisa's time, especially around events and, you know. So, Paul, maybe not. And Lisa herself said, you know, I think this could be a half-time or three-quarter time position. And she said there's, you know, it used to be you wanted somebody sitting in the church office 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. She said there's just not that much traffic anymore compared to what it used to be. So her thinking is perhaps we can do it with a half-time, three-quarter time role, or split it between a couple people and maybe have less total comp involved in. That's to be figured out. That's to be figured out. At this
Yeah,
point.
one thought I have is, because I've been involved with facilities and whatever, having somebody like Lisa here, if something goes wrong, she's here to address it.
Yeah,
And if they're not here, then things could
yeah.
get away from us.
And again, it wouldn't be work from home. It would be here, but it might not be here 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But the facility, the way she and I have talked about it, and we haven't gotten broader than this, is the primary responsibilities of that role would be what you're talking about. The facilities coordinating with the air conditioning repair or whatever, and the financial work that still remains. But then a lot of the rest of the stuff, you know, bulletin prep, I think is still up in the air
But the plan is actually we'll kind of streamline it a little bit. The bulletin prep will be mostly me, Kevin, and then likely a lay volunteer who has already stepped forward saying, I'm willing to help out with that.
Yeah.
And
So that doesn't completely answer your question, but it tells you what we're thinking about.
Yeah.
And conceivably, it could cost less than the $65,000 total comp package that she has right now.
Yeah.
So that could offset some of this. We don't know yet. But that's next, after we get this piece done. So,
Well, with Tricia's increased responsibility, will we need to increase her pay?
well, not at this point, because the time commitment is the same as what her old position was. So we basically made it a lateral move. Now, we'll see down the road what it turns into. Same with Peggy's role. It's not a full-time role either. It's a three-quarter time role, 30-hour-a-week kind of thing. So we'll have to go from there.
So some of the things that Tricia is doing now, is that going to be split off between some of the stuff that you're going to be doing with youth? And
Yeah.
so her
Peggy and Pastor.
So her role is reduced in some areas and increased in others. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I would like to talk to that because really, Tricia, besides like training youth to help in worship services and helping them participate in full congregation stuff, her role is almost 100% different now. She's going to have a lot of questions that go to Tricia that she's going to have to redirect to somebody else because she's really handing off all of her current responsibilities to Peggy and myself. So that's going to take training and understanding on all of our parts of like who's in charge of what. But just as like a follow-up, I think financial strategy thought is that with kind of Tricia, Peggy, and myself kind of spreading out into 3 different zones of adults, youth, and younger children, I'm hoping that that will increase engagement for people of all ages so that these budget questions will get resolved by more participation.
That's the objective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
Yeah.
So what about your roles? Has that changed some of the stuff that you're currently doing?
Yes. So some of the stuff that I'm currently doing, I will just have to let go of, and it might not get done for a little while. Some of it Chris will have to take on, and some of it hopefully volunteers will step up into. And then some of it, like a portion of the preaching and the visiting, Peggy will take on as part of her deacon role so that I can really focus on youth group and make sure they don't feel lost in the shuffle.
And one, I don't want to say major, but at least at certain times of the year, there are, I'll spend multiple days doing like volunteer coordination for those who are volunteering to lead worship, running Ministry Scheduler Pro. And that aspect of my role, Tricia will take on. And so we're kind of like taking like where we've looked at the overall, like what is everybody doing and what's the better format for making this work. And so like volunteer coordination, the congregational life coordinator, that's Tricia. And so I'll be training her over the course of this summer on how to run that Ministry Scheduler Pro and so that she can take the reins on that. And so some of the things that Pastor Ginger is not going to be able to do, I can now take on. Yeah.
I guess I was kind of reading this incorrectly because I didn't realize we were going to hire an administrator in addition to Tricia. I thought she was kind of taking over that position for some reason.
Okay.
And so that's a misconception on my part. But I didn't notice anywhere where it mentioned an administrator position going to be open and needed to be filled. So that is going to be extra money, correct?
No,
No?
it's replacing Lisa when she retires.
Okay.
And it might even be less hours than what she's currently being paid.
Because Tricia is going to be doing some of the work she's doing now.
Okay.
That's the
Well,
thought.
I was just confused.
Yeah.
And I'm not criticizing your plan. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just stating I was confused.
No, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's been basically what we've been saying is that pretty much everyone on staff is having an adjustment made to their workload, or at least their work responsibilities. The one who's having the least amount of change is Kevin Gordon, our music director, but even, at least in terms of bulletin preparation, he'll have to make some adjustments to his normal workflow. But yes, there are adjustments, and not all are going to be done right now, some major ones, but the main thing with Lisa, that'll be more at the end of the year. But in the end, the net change will be that, what'd you say, 25?
25. That's the net change of all this. And that assumes that the administrator role is exactly the same compensation. And what we're saying is it might be less. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's the next major piece of it.
And 25 is like for the full year.
Yeah, that's the full year.
So what will be the portion of that we will spend this year?
Well, 25 is $2,000 a month, so $2,000 on 5, it's about 10 grand.
So 10,000 to finish out this year with Peggy in the new role. Okay.
Yeah, all this was done like on a yearly
Okay.
number.
So Lisa takes care of a lot of or has, of the financial recording in the, and is that going to be part of the new, or is that falling now in the?
Well, we've
Don't
had,
even know.
we started down that road, and what's become apparent is having someone on a volunteer basis do all of the posting is probably not practical for a volunteer that's got a busy life like our treasurer does. So I think backed up on that a little bit, and the person who takes Lisa's place is going to have some financial and bookkeeping skills. Now, the other thing we're doing is we are simplifying the bookkeeping for this church. What I mean by that is if you look at our financial statements, there's all kinds of GL accounts, and some of them have $100 in for a year, $300. And we said, hey, we can consolidate this and not lose any visibility or control, but just make it easier for whoever's doing the posting. Because Steve started looking at it and he said, my gosh, how do I know when, if this gets posted to this or that or the other, and it's all in Lisa's head. Kurt Hone, who was a treasurer a number of years ago, has looked at it, and I think, he came back and said 35, he's proposed eliminating 35 general ledger accounts to simplify the process of bookkeeping and preparing the MVP, and we think we can do that. It's 35 accounts has 6 or 7% of the total spend for the year. So.
But everybody will be happy with their little piece of it still, right?
Yeah, no one will be losing money.
Nobody's losing money, it's just we're making it simpler to keep the books.
Yeah, sure.
Which, again, our system now of Realm makes that possible because we have a first class, financial system online now. So anyway, the short answer, Paul, is that role is still going to have significant financial responsibilities, working with the volunteer treasurer and facilities. Those are the two things that we think the administrator role will primarily do, and then we'll have to figure it out from there.
Any other comments or questions?
Last sermon, leaning on faith, seems to be appropriate.
We have had that conversation.
Then the first time.
It is not. We have it about every 3 months.
I know. I think the finance committee has the strongest faith of any group in this church.
We have been tested. A bunch of times, including right about now. So we'll just leave it at that. But Jay said, we've done an analysis of the giving, and we're sure. What's sure in life? But we feel pretty good about it.
But speaking of the leaning on faith, I think what has happened in this, whether good or bad, I'm not trying to make any kind of moral claim here, but it's like, we go along with our work and it's like, oh, we have this need, we might hire somebody for this and that, and then we end up having our workforce and their responsibilities. And with the upcoming retirement of Lisa, it's really been an opportunity to look and say, what are the priorities of this congregation? How can we be best set up staffing wise to have the most effective ministry here? And that's what council, mutual ministry, what all of this work has been about. And we believe, and this is the leaning in on faith, that we are setting ourselves up for very effective ministry here, and that we're making these investments to really set up to hopefully have a return on investment, to use financial terms, that that we will see the results of this. So.
Hello,
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah, that's actually well said. And then they brought finance along and said, can we pay for this? But no.
And I was pleased when finance was like, yeah, this is exciting.
Well, again, we're not spending all that we're saving.
Right.
We're spending 40-some% of it. on
And we
this.
always have Bruce that stands up there with confidence and says, we're okay. Everybody believes him.
Even if I'm not sleeping well at night.
And then I guess this is not really related to the topic at hand, but the next task is going to be, you know, where are our priorities with the 60 or the 55% that we're saving with the mortgage the rest of the year? What do we want to focus that on?
Well, I mean, what we promised the congregation is we would catch up on our synod benevolence
Yes.
if we can do that. So if the contributions will support that, that's what we would plan to do.
Seems like a good, responsible thing to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you,
That's the plan that was approved.
that is the plan that was approved. That's exciting. You remember the discussion, so I don't have an MVP here, but I know we're behind so far for the year in what we've given the synod because our cash is, you know, counting on that picking up.
Does it catch up in like December? What was the people?
Let's remind me, did we catch up last year at the end of the year?
We never caught completely up.
Okay.
We were down about $27,000 from the beginning of 25 to the beginning of 26. We were at 72 at the beginning of 25. We're about 45 or 47 at the beginning of 26.
And how did we do with our synod giving last year?
I'd have to look at the number. I mean, it was not what we said it was going to be, but
And so we made a more realistic plan this
and
year.
we tried to, and we still haven't been able to even keep up with that, unfortunately. But again, certainly our intention. So let's see. Yeah, last year we did 39,000. We had 55 in the MVP. This year we put 40 in the MVP. We're not, we're behind that pace. And we had less in the beginning of the year and more later in the year because the mortgage went away.
Yes.
So that's what the plan is.
And the trend each year tends to be that we start with what we've planned and, starts to, what's in the account, let's say that in the checking account, it decreases as we enter into summer. Usually around September, October, we start seeing an increase, and at the end of the year, we end wherever we are. And ideally, we'll be at where we began or above it. That didn't quite happen this past year, but
Right.
that tends to be the flow throughout each year.
Faith it is.
It is. We've had a lot of new members come to the church, so that, and I know we've had some that have moved away or whatever, so maybe they just balance each other out, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the hope is that we always hate to see people move away or die or whatever reason they are no longer a part of the community. But yeah, the hope is that yes, as fresh faces come in, that is part of the longevity of the whole congregation. All right, well, thank you everyone, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
those watching.